Hello there, people of the internet. I apologize for the poor lighting and the not so great background right here. Very clear that we're not in the usual recording spot that I would be recording this at. I seem to have developed some sort of sensitivity or allergy or something like that to something that's in my trailer, which I normally record out of. So I'm avoiding the trailer like it's the plague. Well, I guess that saying doesn't really have the merit it used to have, after Corona. Even Kevin's screaming, like, Kevin is really active today. Whenever I go out and shoot, I expect to hear Kevin. Kevin's my peacock. I got four of them. They're very noisy birds. Wow, the acoustics in here are not good for recording purposes. But you gotta do what you gotta do. So, I'm in here recording. Now, I normally wear a hat in my videos. My hats are in my trailer, and I'm not going in there because it makes me feel not good. So I'll just very poorly edit a hat in for me. Ah, perfect. Anyway, I decided to go ahead and test my luck, and I bought myself a firearm from Royal Tiger Imports. This right here is a No1Mk3 Star SMLE. This particular one is a 1917 pattern. As you can see, it's in relatively decent shape, but that's because I had to clean it up some. Whenever I'd gotten it in, I have some photos I'll go ahead and throw up. The rifle was in much worse condition. It was very, very dirty. The sands of Ethiopia, which is where these rifles came out of, was still very much coating this rifle. Honestly, I scraped enough funk off of this thing to go ahead and like I feel like I could throw it in a pot and get plants growing inside of it. As a matter of fact, I probably should have done that because it would have made a really hilarious bit, but I did not do that. So that's a shot I missed, I guess. Honestly, with how bad it was whenever I'd gotten this, I was expecting the wood to not clean up as well as it did. But the wood cleaned up very, very well. Now, of course, we have just a ton of scuffs and whatnot. This right here is a B-grade rifle. Whenever I saw that they had them available, I had to get one. And of course, as is the case with many rifles that are from that particular region of Africa that are imported into the US, the finish on the metal is basically non-existent. Whenever I had gotten this thing, at first I was thinking about, hey, I'm going to refurbish it and finish it because I'm expecting it to be in really, really rough shape. But the wood's in decent shape, and although there's no finish on it, I kind of like the white metal on this No1, so I'm probably not going to refinish it, and I'm probably just going to leave it the way that it is. Now, after pulling the handguards off, I have not yet pulled off the actual bottom half of the stock simply because I don't have the tools that I would normally have, simply because I cannot go inside my trailer. But I had pulled the handguard, or the upper handguards off, and of course it was absolutely coated with all sorts of dirt, funk, rust, all the works, the Ethiopian works. And I will have to pull this rifle completely apart in order to get to all the funk that is, I'm sure, inside the bottom half of the stock here. Last thing I want is for this thing to start rusting out because of some sand and dirt and whatnot in there. But other than being completely dirty, having no finish, the actual buttstock of the rifle right here was loose whenever it had came in, and I just kind of sprayed some gun oil in there where the screw is to loosen it up some, and screwed it back in, tightened it back down, and now the stock is proper. After inspection of this rifle, the rail system seems okay, the bolt assembly itself seems alright, trigger housing functions well, the magazine is there. The actual locking system of this particular rifle is not compromised, so it is safe to fire. I've actually taken it out to the range to see if it was safe to fire. I managed to get one round off. As a matter of fact, wait right here. Okay, I'm back. I managed to get one round off. This rifle right here is suffering from light primer strikes. So although this rifle is capable of being fired as Royal Tiger Imports had claimed it to be, it is not in actual firing order With the light primer strikes, I've tried on several occasions, on several rounds, to get this thing to fire, and the ammunition is good because I ran it through my number 4 rifle and it fired flawlessly. But these are clearly light primer strikes. So there's a couple things that I decided to go ahead and try to alleviate this problem with. Number one, I figured there was probably some funk and whatnot in the chamber where the firing pin is, so I flushed that out thoroughly to make sure that there was no funk in there that was maybe slowing it down. That's not the case. I checked the actual length of the firing pin itself. The length of the firing pin is good, so that tells me that this, over 100-year-old spring in this bolt is probably a little on the weak side. Now, in order to take the spring out, I need a special tool, which should actually arrive today, so hopefully I'll be able to take this thing out and actually test fire it today. Well, actually run it, because I did manage to get one round off. The first round it fired and who the hell knows how long. I'm also going to point out that the barrel of this thing was so coated with all sorts of funk. I don't know how a barrel could get that kind of funk in it, but it was pretty bad. It was like mud and clay and just, it was funk. Is it raining outside? Oh, don't tell me it's raining. I want to go shoot something. But the barrel definitely needed a good cleaning and scrubbing before I even attempted to test fire this thing. Because if that locking system was even a little compromised, the overpressure from a partially clogged barrel would have blown this thing apart. Now, after having scrubbed the barrel, this is where I was worried. Although it shoots, I was worried if it would shoot accurately. I still don't know, but the rifling and bore of this rifle actually looks pretty decent. Despite the funk that was in there, maybe that funk preserved it, I'm not sure, but it actually looks quite decent. I was surprised, delightfully surprised. So now I'm just kind of sitting here waiting for my tool so I can disassemble this bolt, and I'm going to go ahead and stretch that spring out a little bit, see if I can restore a little bit of tension in it. Worst case scenario, if that doesn't work, I'll get a new spring. If that doesn't work, then maybe the firing pin is just the tiniest little bit off. If that's the case, then I'll go ahead and leave it just a little bit unscrewed, get a little bit of extra length out of it. That's not a permanent solution, but it's a solution in which I can run the rifle long enough to test functionality. I think the firing pin's okay though. It protrudes quite a bit. What do you guys think? Do you think I should get this thing refinished? I don't really want to, because I like it in its original look. I mean, this is a rifle from 1917, and I like the metal basically in the white. Seeing one of these rifles in the white like this isn't something that you see very often. Anyway, now I wait. Oh yes, real quick, before I go off anywhere, you'll never guess what happened whenever I had called the gun store about this gun. Whenever I called the gun store about this gun, they were like, "Hey man, we were just talking about you. We have a rifle that you might find interesting." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool, but I also have a rifle that's coming to you." And I had said, I got a No1Mk3 coming your way, and they had said, "Man, you'll never guess what we just got in that you're gonna want." They got one of those Ishapur 308 Enfield rifles, which is basically a No1Mk3. Yep, that's right. A No1Mk3 chambered in 308. I'll probably shoot that one way more often than I will this one, just because this one's a lot older than that one. Those are made of a much better material than these rifles, just because metallurgy, metal technology has advanced so much over the years, and 308 is a lot cheaper and readily available than 303. Yeah, these are expensive. It's like $1.50 a round right now for these things. So 308's the way to go. Well, technically 7.62 by 51, but we'll get into that whenever I make the video on that rifle. Anyway, now I wait. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to make the video on that rifle right now. I'll be back. Hello there, people of the internet. So, I hope you're a fan of the background I have here. Been an adventurous couple of days, but I've been tinkering around with this rifle, and I've discovered that the firing pin's the right size, That spring has plenty of tension behind it. So I broke out my jungle carbine and I decided to see what's different between the No1Mk3 and the jungle carbine, which is actually just a converted No1Mk3, you know, to look like a jungle carbine. And I've discovered that the cocking piece itself was not being cocked back as far as it's supposed to be, and that certainly explains why the trigger is a lot lighter than it's supposed to be. So I disassembled the gun entirely, and sure enough, the sear in the trigger assembly was shorter than it's supposed to be. So I went ahead and I ordered me a new sear, but it's going to take a little while for it to get here. So I figured I'd go ahead and turn this into a two-part video versus just sitting on my hands with all the other projects I have going on and waiting for a while, to get this piece in. So the actual range shooting and bringing that rifle back to life will be a part 2 later on. So this is the end of part 1, I guess. I should have recorded me like going through that rifle, because man, it was a process figuring out what was wrong. I kept going out. I was like, all right, the spring has been stretched, plenty of tension. Firing pin, I measured it out, you know, with my pair of calipers. It is exactly the same as the firing pin from my jungle carbine. I even, like, I went through all of the things. I went through all of the things to see what was what, and I was still getting light primer strikes, and I was like, all right, maybe it's not in the firing pin and spring assembly. So I started looking at the bolt itself. Headspace, maybe the headspace off. Nope, headspace is in fact very good on that rifle. So headspace is good. Maybe it had something to do, you know, I was like, maybe this, maybe that, maybe that, maybe this. So I grabbed my jungle carbine and I put them side by side, and I was like, that cocking piece is not where it needs to be. And I looked at it and I was like, that sear is not where it needs to be. So I have a new sear coming. I'll swap it out. That rifle will be brought back to life. A rifle from 1917 that hasn't been shot and who the hell knows how long. Decades, I'm sure. Just sitting in dirt. So, yeah, that rifle will be brought back to life. If you want to be a part for that part too, by all means, subscribe to the channel, like the video. That helps out with the algorithm, and check out the description. Alright. Thanks for watching. This is just kind of recorded on my phone in my garage next to my dresser and dirty laundry. Oh, what a good adventure today has been. You guys go off, have a fantastic day.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.